Hi, welcome to Lum's channel. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Chinese laser cutter / engraver that we see a lot on eBay. Also known as the K40 laser or generic Chinese 40-watt laser, I've been wanting one of these for over a year. When the opportunity came up with an eBay site-wide 15% discount, I sprang into action and I purchased mine for $295 shipped. It is an Orion Motortech USB 320S BW model, originally priced at $345, free shipping. I've shown here on the screen there's a current eBay listing for $328.80, although the shipping fee is questionable. Sales like this always come and go, so look for prices around $345 and $355 free standard shipping. Links to similar price models are in the description below. Even if they are different brands, they're basically all the same as far as I can tell. Now, everybody and their brother has an unboxing video or first impressions video, and believe me, I've watched them all, but I'm not here to make yet another one of those. Instead, I want to share with you what I found were gaps in the documentation and information out there, and my experiences to make this thing work. Firstly, I want to comment about the bundled software. You don't need them. The CD comes with 3 different programs. A Corel Laser, which only works if you own Corel Draw 12 or above. A WinCO XP and Laser DRW. These programs are crippled by the very fact that you need to insert the accompanying USB dongle to make them work. If you plan to use any of these because you're familiar with them, by all means go ahead, but I'm telling the rest of you not to bother installing any of these. Instead, here's what you should get. InkScape from inkscape.org. It's a professional and open source vector graphics editor, and it's free. Also get K40 Whisperer from scorchworks.com. It's an alternative to the Laser DRW program and does not require the USB dongle to function, and it's also free. Optionally, a traditional image editor such as Photoshop or GIMP or GimpShop. I use an old Photoshop 7. GIMP and GimpShop are free, Photoshop isn't. K40 Whisperer is dynamite because it's a single program that can raster engrave, and vector cut using SVG files. It also needs InkScape to work during its installation, so it'll ask you for the path to where you've previously installed the InkScape executables. The workflow for me is threefold. 1. Edit, touch up an image in Photoshop. 2. Paste that image into InkScape and convert it into a vector image and save the file as an SVG file. 3. Open the image file in K40 Whisperer and proceed to raster engrave or vector cut. So in my Photoshop, I've taken an image of an origami bird in color. Of course, when engraved, the laser engraver doesn't engrave in color, and everything will turn out black or non-black. The black comes from the etched material, and the non-black is whatever the color of the material is. I add white highlights between the folds of the wings to give this bird more definition when engraved in black. I also want to leave a small border around the image and tell the laser to cut the material there. I use the magic wand tool on the white part around the bird, and that tool selects everything but the bird. Then I press Ctrl-Shift-I to invert that selection so only the bird is selected. Then from the menu, I navigate Select, Modify, Expand, and expand the selection around the bird by 10 pixels. I create a new empty layer with this selection and fill it with black using the Paint Can function. This will become evident later in InkScape. For now, I hide the big black bird and copy the merged image on the screen and paste this into InkScape. So once in InkScape, I can take this traditional image and turn it into a vector object by navigating the menu at the top, Path, Trace Bitmap option. On the dialog box that opens up, I choose the brightness cutoff option and select Live Preview. I adjust the threshold up and down until I see that the entire bird has been successfully mapped. Once I am satisfied, I press the OK button. This creates a vector object right on top of the graphics image. I can drag the vector object away to expose the graphics and delete it, leaving only the vector object with which to work. Colors mean something in K40 Whisperer, for which we are preparing the origami bird currently in Inkscape. We add the colors in Inkscape here. Anything black can be raster engraved by K40 Whisperer. We make sure that the vector object is set so that it fills itself with black. Anything blue can be vector engraved. If we click the stroke paint option and surround the bird with a blue line, or we fill it with a blue color, we can instruct K40 Whisperer to trace a line around the bird instead of filling it with black, or we can tell it to do both. And anything red will instruct K40 Whisperer that this is a cut line. Remember that big black blob we had back in Photoshop that we said would become evident later on? We'll be bringing that image into Inkscape and converting it into another vector object. But this time we will not fill it with any color and instead outline it with a red, also known as a stroke. Back in Photoshop, we unhide the black outline of the origami bird, copy that image and paste it into Inkscape and perform a similar trace bitmap operation to create another vector object. This time we ensure there is no fill. See the no paint hint? And on the stroke paint tab, we dial up the red color all the way, just leaving the red outline of this blob. And since this blob is larger than the origami bird by 10 pixels all the way around, we can drag this into position around the origami bird as an outline. Positions in Inkscape mean everything and is meant to translate to real-world dimensions. The ruler markings across the top and left of the canvas are not merely numbers, but dimensions measured in millimeters. The top left is 0. The canvas template I am using is an 8.5 inch by 11 inch American Standard sheet in a landscape layout, which is roughly 297.4 millimeters left to right and 215.9 millimeters top to bottom. I just round everything to 297 and 216 millimeters. The one thing I don't like about Inkscape that the origin is set at the bottom left of the paper, not the top left like the K40 printer is. But the K40 Whisperer knows how to take this into account. If I select the black bird and the red outline together, I can see as a group that they are 92 millimeters wide by 94 millimeters high. My laser cutter has a cutout in the bed for cutting things. I try not to cut things on the aluminum bed itself. I rather not etch the nice aluminum finish, and the reflected laser might scorch the back of the material being cut. Instead, I try to position the object to be cut inside the cutout. It happens to be 230 millimeters wide by 168 millimeters high. I will show in my next video how I determined where the laser cutter origin is, but you can see that I have etched ruler markings into my laser bed. If I place an 8.5 inch by 11 inch paper there, I can see that the bottom of the cutout is roughly 28 millimeters from the bottom of the paper, and that the left edge of the cutout is 48 millimeters from the edge of the paper. Now I can set the left edge of the grouping to be 55 millimeters, that is the X value, and the bottom side to be at 35 millimeters, that is the Y value. That'll put the bird object and the outline object just inside the cutout in the bed of my laser. I save this drawing as origamibird.svg. I've been talking for over 9 minutes now, and we finally arrived at the fun part. I fire up K40 Whisperer and load in Origami Bird SVG I just saved in Inkscape. It takes a moment for it to actually load up the drawing, but when it does come up, you can see that the black origami bird and the red outline around it is visible on the landscape canvas near the bottom left of the paper. And near the bottom left of the K40 Whisperer are the engraving/cutting options. A button for raster engrave with the laser movement and speed of 100 millimeters per second is visible in black digits. It also shows it'll only do one pass. A button for vector engrave shows a laser movement speed of 20 millimeters per second and is visible in blue digits. And the button for vector cut shows a laser movement speed of 10 millimeters per second and is visible in red digits. Our origami bird has only the black and red, which correspond to raster engrave and vector cut. I prepared a laser cutter, that is turning it on, ensuring coolant flow to the laser tube, turn on the exhaust fan which sends the smoke that this laser cutter produces outside of my room. I also turn on air assist, which is a jet of air directed at the point of engraving and cutting to blow out any flames that may pop up. After all, the job of the laser is to burn the material. A low power burn will scorch the surface or may cut it to the material a millimeter or two. A higher power burn will burn right through the material. I initialize a laser cutter which tells the head to go to the home position. And I set the laser for 6.1% power and press the raster engrave and let her rip. I'll speed it up as it took nearly 20 minutes. Now I increase the laser power from 6.1% to 40%. This will ensure there's enough laser power to cut through the cardboard. On the K40 Whisperer, I press the vector cut option, and that will cause the laser head to move at 10 millimeters per second, delivering 40 watts of power into the cardboard, allowing it to cut all the way through. As you can see, the flame is now much brighter as it's making this trace around the origami bird in the same shape that red line we produced in InkScape. The air assist nozzle that you can see is doing its job to blow out any fires and flames that are popping up. Once the cut is done, I need to push it with my finger and push it through. Then I'll remove the cardboard from the cutting bed and hold up the finished piece for you to see. And there we go. Voila, origami bird cut out from cardboard. I hope you can see that the workflow is simple using InkScape and K40 Whisperer. I hope to do more of these instructional videos for you in the future. In the next video, I will show you how I produced ruler markings around the edge of my engraving bed and how they assist in placing workpieces on and in my cutter without the need for a laser pointer. If you like this video, please press the like button and subscribe. This is Lamkichi, and I will catch you in the next video.